Hey, Honey Badgers, Chappie here. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope our teams scattered around different sites are doing well and families are doing well. And if I'm raising my voice, it's because I've got a big giant generator here about 20 paces away and it's really loud. But we want it to be against this T-wall here for our special guest for today's word of the day. So I've got Sergeant Larson here, Staff Sergeant Larson here today, recently promoted. And the word of the day, of course, as you've seen on the Facebook page, is turn your setback into a comeback. Now, of course, the point behind that is, as I put on the post, is it really is, life really is all about the perspective that you choose to have. So if you feel like life is happening to you, then if you change and shift your perspective to life is happening for me, then at that point, it really allows you to make a giant shift in how you look at life. So how you look at opportunities, how you have aha moments, it all turns from negative to positive. And so in light of that, I wanted to have Staff Sergeant Larson on today to interview her for a few minutes and hear a little bit about her story. And so my first question for you, Rebecca, is tell me about a time in the past, and I have a feeling I think I know where you're going to go with it, but a time in the past when you feel like you had a setback.
This has been a struggle for me because I'm not an open person. So a few years ago, my husband and I decided that it was time for us to have a fourth child. And so we were pregnant and we were super excited. And we had just told our kids that we were pregnant and we were gonna have a baby. And the next day, I ended up at the hospital having a miscarriage.
Oh, wow.
And it was devastating because I felt like we had waited and we had, planned out our life to the point where we were ready to have number 4, and then all of a sudden it was just taken from us, and it was very, very unexpected.
Wow.
Definitely changes your perspective of what where you think your life is going, and then.
Yeah. So what year did that happen in, Rebecca?
That happened in 2017, I believe, 2017.
Okay. How far along were you in the pregnancy?
12 weeks. So not super far along, but
almost,
far enough along that I thought I was okay.
Yeah, so I mean, right about the little bit before the first trimester was over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
yes,
yep. Wow.
So.
Well, I can certainly relate to that. We had a similar incident in 1997, and it was a really dark time. But with your particular situation, how did you feel like that was a huge setback? I mean, because obviously part of that is you wanted a fourth, and then you didn't get a fourth. So what other ways did you feel like that really set you back, personally, family-wise?
It was more family-wise.
Okay.
We have 2 daughters and a son, and our son is the youngest, and he really wanted a younger sibling.
Yeah.
And the job that I had at the time had just sold to an out-of-state company.
Okay.
Or an out-of-state company, and so it was the first time in our entire marriage that I was ready to be a stay-at-home mom with the kids. When we had our first kids, our first 2, I was in the military, and then when we had Alexander, I was a full-time student and then went right back into full-time work. So our entire life was set up at that moment to finally be a stay-at-home mom, and so it was kind of more of an emotional setback to have what I thought I wanted taken away from me.
So in the process when did you start feeling like the setback was turning into a comeback for you?
About 3 months after that happened is when I decided to go back into the military. And it was not an easy process because the military looks...
How long had you been in before?
I'd been in for 7 years, and then at that point I was out for 7 years. Up until that point.
7 years prior service, and then you were a break in service for 7 years. 3 months after the miscarriage, you started thinking about military again.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And I had thought about it before, but again, our life was shifting to the point where I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom for a while. So 3 months after the miscarriage, I went in to talk to the recruiters, and that's when I found out that the military views a miscarriage as a full-term pregnancy in terms of being able to come back into the military. And so they told me I couldn't come back in. And I was, again,
like another
setback. But at that point, it was another setback. But it allowed me to go to school while they you know, let my required time lapse.
Yeah.
Could finish my degree and then go back and join the military, and was finally able to join back.
Okay. So when did you ended up rejoining?
2018.
Okay, so how long from the time you wanted to go in 2017 to when you got in 2018?
A year.
A full year?
Full year.
Okay.
Yep.
When did you feel like that it was officially turning into a comeback for you?
After I enrolled in school,
Okay.
And I had something to keep my mind off of what had already happened.
Yeah.
And probably about 6 months after the miscarriage, when I was enrolled full-time in school.
Yeah.
And, you know, there was nothing you can do at that point, and my husband was a huge supporter in whatever avenue I wanted to take my life to. And
he was prior enlisted, prior service?
Yes, yes sir.
That's good.
Yep. So
that you had someone who understood what you were going through and what you wanted to do.
Yes, he understood the desire to be back in the military.
Yeah.
So
let me ask you this then, as we kind of close out this story, and that's an amazing story of having a certain trajectory in life, and then you hit a pothole or a pitfall, and then you end up, you know, converting or I guess reverting to a different pathway. What advice would you give to other soldiers based on your story about how they can turn their setback into a comeback?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it's all in how they set their mind to something.
Okay.
If you're constantly looking at the downfall of every side of your situation, then you're only going to continue to be on that downward spiral.
Yeah.
And it took me a few months to realize that, and a lot of people, you know, talking to people and realizing that I wasn't alone in my situation.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't want to talk about it initially, but then by speaking to people, I realized that a lot of people had gone through it.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of help that I didn't initially want to take. And I think that if they reach out to people and if they talk to them about their situation, they would be surprised at how many other people are going through a similar situation.
So maybe somewhat similar to what Sergeant Buffington was sharing in yesterday's Word of the Day, where I guess the outcome of our conversation was pause, and then don't panic, and then partner with other people.
Right.
So a similar thing, when something huge and negative impacts you, you're not saying lie to yourself and just go, oh, this is okay, this is not a big deal,
right.
but just understand it does suck, it is painful, and just walk through the pain. What do you use personally? What helps do you use personally to help you walk through pain and negativity when you experience it?
I depend a lot on my husband, first off. I'm not an outwardly religious person, but I do depend on my religion also to help me through things. And again, talking to people. I also like to read, and it helps me if I'm feeling in a place where I just am frustrated with things.
Yeah.
It helps to escape into somebody else's reality for a little bit.
Yeah. That's one thing I have noticed about you, is that in working together for a short time, I think we've been working together probably since September, October last year, but more closely in this deployment, that you do have a long fuse. It takes a lot. I haven't really ever seen anything like turn you negative. You just take it, and then you absorb it, and then you charge into it and keep leading on. And I really like that about you, is that you're very resilient in that respect. You bounce back, which is kind of what, you know, the category of the Word of the Day is. It's resilience. You bounce quickly, but it doesn't mean it doesn't hurt when you experience something. So, well, Honey Badgers, I hope that was helpful. I hope hearing Staff Sergeant Larson was helpful. I hope that the generator wasn't too freaking loud where you couldn't hear us. But again, to emphasize, don't let your setback get you down. Turn it into a comeback by changing your mind about how you think about things, and that'll help you stay positive instead of negative. So this is Chappie Rob, out for day 4 of #Adulting in 60 Days. Thanks for watching.